almost double our size in the next couple of decades. So close your eyes. If you think that you were complaining about congestion on your way here today, think about what it will feel like when there are 4 million additional people and they're not able to get around the city. And the challenge that we have is that the narrative around public transit has been that it is something of waste, right? So it's waste. You're doing this wasteful project that costs billions of dollars. Who's gonna use that? I'm not, so let's not do that. Instead, let me drive my car everywhere I need to go, and let me expand the freeways forever and ever and ever. Well, guess what? You can't expand freeways forever and ever and ever. They actually cost money to expand. In fact, I'll give you an example. I-10, it's one of the widest freeways in the world at its widest peak. If you count the feeder lanes and if you count the shoulders and everything, it's one of the widest in the world, right? We spent $2.5 billion, I said million, $2.5 billion to widen that freeway project, and within 10 years of doing so, within 7 years of doing so, we were back in the top 10 most congested freeways in the state. So, you tell me what's waste. I don't think it's waste to get back in the top 10. I think that might be waste to get back into the top 10 list within 7 years of making that kind of investment. And you look at the $7 billion that's getting ready to be invested by the state that actually is precluded. And I'm not lying to you guys. Again, I know this sounds like it's a planted question. It was not. But those monies for that I-45 project are precluded from being used for transit. I'm not lying. So $7 billion coming into the city, can't use it for transit. Can only use it for highway expansion. Okay, but these are policy decisions. And we first have to educate our public about this, because unless I was sitting at City Hall in my green chair and at City Hall would I have ever known that that was in fact the case. That's not widely understood or known. You just see when the barricades go up that something's happening with the freeway. But understanding the sources of money, the politics behind the sources of money, and right now there is a very strong belief that expanding the reach of our transit dollars to go into high capacity transit like trains or bus rapid transit is somehow waste. And what we have to do is be able to demonstrate that not only are we open for business, but that we're able to retain and keep business. Businesses are looking to go to places where they think their residents can go to and from where they need to go. And if you think that it's waste to invest in transit, I'll tell you what the first thing that happens anytime somebody's getting ready to bid a project or look for something like HQ2, raise your hand if you were familiar with HQ2, that's Amazon's headquarters that didn't come to Houston. Okay. They were looking for a train line. Suddenly it had value when it's time to encourage investment in the city. And so the point that I have for you is this. Everybody knows my viewpoints on transit. I say them aloud in many, many places and spaces across the region, but they don't know what your viewpoints are on transit. I'll give you an example. In my office, I get calls for I get calls about waste, bark, crime. I mean, I could give you a long list. Tires, recycling, you name it. I get very few calls or emails about transit. And what happens in politics is that the squeaky wheel does get the grease. I'm letting you in on like a big secret. The squeaky wheel does get the grease in politics. So if we understand you to be complacent or quiet about something, guess what? We think you're okay with it. That may not be true, but if you don't articulate your concern, the assumption is that you're fine. And right now, there hasn't been a strong mobilization and advocating for transit dollars for our region. So if you're interested in this is a long commercial. I'm actually having a meeting that I would love for all of you to attend, and you can call my office to get more details, but it will be it's a high capacity transit task force meeting that will be taking place next Friday, and that's February 15th at 1 p.m. at the Houston-Galveston Area Council offices. That's located at 3555 Timmons Lane. And if you call my office, we can give you all those details as well. But that would be good for you to hear what's the vision for the region for 2045 and to put your voice on record in terms of what it is that you want to see investment in. Great.